Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
What's going on, everybody? BT Unleashed in the house. Good Friday to you. Let It Rip Friday on the show. So on a Let It Rip Friday, there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of bouncing around and a lot of stuff that you want to get off your chest. So whatever you're thinking about, local sports scene, national sports scene, off the topic of sports, whatever it might be, let it rip. J-Rod's going to have the questions firing in throughout. Obviously, I have a couple of things for you, starting with Giannis, which I will get to in a moment. Now, you might also, J-Rod, real quick, Jay, do you notice a little different studio vibe today? Does it look a little less
big time
crowded?
Yeah, it's looking clean in there, you know.
Yes.
Getting ready for the
yes.
BT Unleashed logo in the back. So
yeah,
for that.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So I had to rearrange the office a little bit today, or last night I did this actually, because my guy's coming today at around 2:00 where the official measurements will be made, and now we've got to put. And I sent Jay a couple of pictures last night of the
also real quick.
Yeah.
Just switch to your mic real quick. I'm seeing in the comments. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, let's see how I can do this. I'm so excited to do the show. We didn't. All right, hang on a second. Yeah, I would not have been able to figure this out a while. And hopefully this thing works, and hopefully it sounds a whole lot.
There we go.
There we go, J-Rob. Okay, thank you very much. Good job interrupting me with that. So,
of course.
Yeah, so yesterday, what I had to do was, I had to take down the Mattingly jersey, which pains me. You put Mattingly up. You don't take Donnie down. But I had to take him down to put the logos that I have behind me to get a sense of where I want them, because I can't obscure them, obviously. So anyway, long story short, the studio's a little bit more barren today because we are in the final stages of getting this thing really ready to look better, look sleeker, look like a legit studio. So you guys know how pumped up I am about that. With that being said, let's get into the content here on Unleash. We start with Giannis, okay? And J-Rod's going to be pumping those questions in as we get deeper and deeper into the show. And then obviously next Friday, next week, a lot of Super Bowl stuff and all that good stuff. So guys, a week from today, we will already know what's going on with Giannis, because the deadline is going to be on Thursday. The deadline's February 5. I believe it's 3 Eastern. So the Knicks have to really, within their own organization, the Knicks and everybody else, and I'll tell you who I think the real suitors are, what I think is going to happen. But there's two questions. Number one, can the Knicks get him? Can they get him? The short answer there is yes, but it's going to be very complicated, okay? By the way, will he get freaky with an offer for Giannis? I mean, you got to get more than freaky. You got to give them anything that they want. I mean, it's got to be prom night. You just got to get down. You got to get after it. Yeah, of course, whatever they ask for, here. So anyway, can they get him? Yes, but it's not going to be easy. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And number two, and this is a bit of a stranger question, like when you just hear it on the surface, like what? And by the way, my voice is hoarse because last night, I'm just going to be totally honest with everybody as I take a little 25-second spin here. My daughter's rec basketball team is 0-3 and can't have it. Like you just can't go through a year without winning. So last night, Coach BT was a little more animated in a good way. Don't worry. Barking out some defensive assignments, calling out some timeouts. So and they won. And the final score, we were winning 8-1 in the fourth quarter. It's third and fourth grade girls, right? So it was 8-1. We hung on and we won 8-3. So that's why the voice sounds the way it does a little bit. But yeah, I was getting after it last night, calling out picks, setting screens and stuff. The girls played great. It was a fun night. So anyway, can the Knicks get him? Yes. Now, this is the question that might seem a little bit odd on the surface, but is it really worth blowing up a roster for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Now, when you hear that, you're like, of course it is, dude. As long as you keep Jalen Brunson and you go to battle with Jalen Brunson and Giannis, well, you got a real chance to win the championship. And I agree with that. And I would do the trade. Like, obviously, I would do the trade. Now, would I like to keep OG? Sure. Would I like to keep Deuce? Sure. But it's Giannis. I mean, you're going to have to give up whatever you got to give up. Now, whether that's a cat, whether that's a third team, whether that's a fourth team, whether that's OG and Bridges. I mean, this is going to be a very complicated negotiation. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Giannis is due, 4 years? Yeah, 4 years, $275 million max extension after 2027. Now, he's obviously this year is this year. Next year, he's got a $64 million player option. Now, he still dictates where he's going. I mean, when an NBA superstar tells his team and flexes, I want to go there, that's usually where they wind up. So this is largely dependent upon how serious Giannis is about coming to the Garden. And the word on the street is, and we know this over the summer, when the Knicks and the Bucks were in an exclusive 2-week negotiation window, and they didn't get it done. They couldn't get it done, whatever, but at least the seeds were planted for future conversations. But now what's happened, you've got other teams that are jumping in, and I'll identify them and tell you how serious a threat I perceive those teams to be in a moment. But all Giannis has to, and I don't know if this is within him, right? I don't know if he's quite this cutthroat, if he's quite this callous. Like, we know he wants to win, but he's also kind of counter to the modern NBA superstar. Up until this point, he's really been about team and then self, rather than self and team. So he's really counter to what many of these superstars are. I mean, LeBron, it's all about LeBron. You know that. And Giannis is wired a little bit differently. His values appear to be, basketball values appear to be different than LeBron and some others who will take that knife and they will hold their team hostage. They'll hold it to their neck and say, hey, get me here. Otherwise, we got a problem. I don't know if Giannis is going to do that. It would be easier for us if Giannis would do that, because if Giannis does that, then he's going to be a Knick. Because at that point, then the Bucks would be forced, really, guys, if you think about this, to basically take 80, 85 cents on the dollar when they should really be commanding $1.40 on the dollar because of how great Giannis is. 2-time MVP, NBA champion, one of the 3 or 4 best players on the planet still. So again, you boil it down to 2 very simple questions, and then the simplicity of the questions become far more complex. Can they get him? Yes, but it's going to be tough. Number 2, do you blow up the roster? You do it, but you do it and you pray. Because let's face it, guys, Giannis's calf is an issue. Now, we want to sweep this under the rug. It's a hamstring. It's a calf. I pulled his groin a little bit. This has been now a repeated issue with the calf. And trust me, somebody who ruptured his Achilles and somebody who studied a little bit about the body in college, not just journalism, multifaceted student when I went. Hey, I'm too busy playing Sega. I can't go to class today. I'm too bad. I got to rest up for baseball practice. Can't make it, professor. Anyway, when I did make it, I did study a little kinesiology, and I've had a lot of surgeries. So I've actually learned and have grown to really understand and appreciate the complexities of the body. You don't have to study anything to understand that the calf is very much connected and a bridge to the Achilles. And it's not once, it's not twice, it's 3 times that we know of. So there's once earlier in the season, came back, and he missed 24 days in December with a calf issue, okay? Then he comes back, probably rushed himself back, obviously, because he's a gamer, and the Bucks, they need him. They're going nowhere with or without him. But, he wants to compete. He wants to try to elevate the team, so you got to respect him coming back. And he probably came back too early. Last Friday, got hurt. He's out a couple of more weeks, the calf again. And, oh, yeah, by the way, in the 2024 NBA playoffs, he also injured his calf. And not always. Sometimes you literally can just strain your calf. But a lot of times the calf injury is a precursor to something far more, debilitating for a pro athlete. Ask Kevin Durant, ask Tyrese Halliburton, whether it's a grade 1, whether it's a grade 2. When you have, and those are obviously much worse than a grade 3, but when you have fraying of muscle fibers, right? Like that slow, think about like if you're grating cheese, right? You got a big slab of mozzarella, right? And you just, you're grating the cheese or even the Parmesan if you're getting it ready for the gravy, whatever you're doing. And you're skimming it up. You start with a whole piece of cheese. And then as you start to grate it, now those little tiny, almost like snowflakes of cheese come out. They go into plate. Eventually you have your veal Parmesan, whatever you have. But To parallel that to the calf, you also have fraying muscle fibers. And that to me is incredibly worrisome. It's incredibly problematic. It's not once, it's not twice, it's 3 times. Having said all that, you still do it. And the reason why you do it and you hold your breath and you hope that it works out, and I'll get to that in a minute. Keep that up there, J-Rod. Thanks, buddy. Is because the way the Knicks are currently constructed, the Knicks aren't going to win anything. Now, if you believe that they're going to, and they're playing better now, and I want to be fair here, and I got my Knicks hoodie on, the FDNY, Knicks jersey, Knicks sweatshirt. I love the Knicks, but I don't like this Knicks team. There's been too many spurts of wildly erratic play. Their defense is not championship level. One of the players that they rely on too much, Cat, their second best player in theory, is just unpredictable and sloppy. And by the way, I don't want to be overly repetitive. Everything that I've said about the Knicks for a while stands. I'm just giving you the very brief encapsulation. If you're new to BT Unleashed, which, by the way, if you are new to BT Unleashed, welcome. Welcome to the growing legion of BT Unleashed fans and the show here. I'm having a blast. Hopefully you guys are digging it as well. So, again, but you do it because if you subscribe to what I certainly believe, that if they don't do anything, it will be, if it's the wrong matchup, could be a first-round ouster. In all probability, an incredibly competitive second-round victory, but no guarantee. And then, let's see what happens if you get out of the East. And if you do, you're probably going to get steamrolled by whomever's waiting for you in the Western Conference. So that's why you do it. At Grossman Plumbing, 3397. What up, Grossman? He's got the logo up there. There you go. You're going to pay for something, maybe get a little pop. I would trade for Giannis if it's some combination of Bridges, Cat, McBride, and picks, even if another team's involved. Now, time will tell, but you'll have zero bench. I agree. Thank you for that. Appreciate it, Grossman. Yeah, good luck to you. Good thought on we share the same thought. So, one of the things you've got to really weigh the merits of. Number one, you've got to come to the determination what we currently have is not good enough. And if you believe that, which I do, well, now you get to the next part. Okay, are you willing to do whatever it takes to get Giannis? And I am at this point. And then once you cross that bridge and you get further deeper into the evaluation, which is a very complex process, and I'll get into the other teams in a minute, as I said, and why the Knicks are going to have to fend off some very good organizations with some better capital and some very smart decision makers who have juice around the NBA. But once you get to that point, now you've got to reconcile and you got to be okay. Like, all right, that cap's an issue, but we're throwing our shot. We're shooting our shot. Here's a go route. Here's a Hail Mary in football verbiage. We're taking a swing. We haven't won since 1973. We're doing whatever we can do to increase the odds of winning a championship, which is what it's all about. I mean, there was a point when Tom Thibodeau first got here, they became competitive, and that was largely because of Julius Randle, who I've got incredible respect for. Mad love for Julius Randle. Love him. I also thought it was time for him to be dealt because I didn't think he was a next-level guy, but that doesn't mean that we don't have profound respect for that dog. Like, he is a dog. He was a gamer, and he was a hell of a Knick, and that's the guy that started raising the floor. And by raising the floor, by extension, you started to raise the ceiling a little bit, all right? So we were very happy with that. Hey, we're finally competitive. After all the nonsense that we watched, right? All the slop, Eddie Curry, Isaiah, Hornacek, Fisher. I mean, this century has been a coma. The Knicks have been in a basketball coma most of this century. So you get a chance to swing for a championship, you do it. And you know what? I'm working under the understanding, the very real possibility that you gut the team, you've got no bench, although you can always get some guys later in the season, like veteran buyouts. There's always a way to fill out, say, 7 through 9 in the rotation. Guys that are on bad teams that can come like a shooter, a big that can play some defense, whatever it might be. There are ways. I won't get into it now. It's boring, but there are ways to get some ancillary pieces in there and at least have the makings of a competent bench, right? So the competition is going to be incredibly fierce. You've got the Warriors, you've got the Heat, you've got the Timberwolves engaged right now. See, I break it into 2 files. What teams are trying to get him now by February 5, which is Thursday, a little less than a week from today. And it's the Knicks and it's the Warriors, it's the Timberwolves and it's the Heat. To me, that's the main competition for him now. If it gets to the summer and the Bucks don't acquiesce or he doesn't have the power play and he remains there and he's okay with it, well, now it gets broader and now it gets more complicated for the Knicks because now that's another year, and there's two things at play here. That's another season where this iteration of the Knicks do not win a championship. That's another, because they won't. That's another year where the incredibly team-friendly contract that Jalen Brunson has, that's 1 year lopped off of that. And now the window of Brunson with the great contract and financial solvency, like those things start to become more and more complicated from a cap perspective. I don't mean luxury tax or whatever. I'm talking about from a cap and ability to build a basketball team. They lessen as time goes on, all right? Because eventually Jalen's going to get the max extension. So when you get to the summer, now you've got a couple of teams like the Rockets, like the Spurs, teams that are in the championship hunt now. But if they fall short, maybe they say, okay, we took our swing. Let's go bonkers. We'll do whatever it takes to get outside of a Wemby or whatever it might be. If you're the Spurs, let's go and get him over the summer. I think you got to worry about the Lakers at that point. You always have to keep an eye on the Lakers. I think you've got to worry about the Magic at that point during the summer. And I think depending upon what happens with the Pistons group, who are currently the 1 seed, and Knicks are back at the 2 spot, but there's enough of a gap where I would think that the Pistons would hold on and get the 1 seed. So they're taking their swing now, and they're good and they're tough. But if they come up short and they recognize, man, we just have to do something else, then I think you throw the Pistons into the conversation over the summer. So those are a lot of the things that are at play here. And it's largely dependent upon how forceful Giannis wants to be behind closed doors. And if he's not very forceful, he's probably not dealt now. If he is incredibly forceful, massive advantage Knicks. All right, how about with Drew? What's up with Drew? Good morning, BT. Players themselves aren't comparable, but feels like Stoudemire. Interesting. All right, I feel where you're going. Big body, a lot of wear and tear. What it'll take to get Giannis will leave us depleted and barely competitive in the West. I think you mean in the East there, right? Yeah, you have to mean in the East. Okay, point taken. Good text right there. I feel you. I'm still taking a swing. Now, Amari was different. See, I've actually got a framed Amari Stoudemire jersey in my basement. Now, I wouldn't have bought it, full disclosure. My wife won it in sale, whatever. Nice accomplishment. That would have been nice if it was a Ewing jersey or a Frazier jersey. But anyway, it was a Amari Stoudemire jersey. And I've since gotten a framed signed Patrick. Anyway, in my man cave, I've got signed Joe Namath. I've got signed Donnie Baseball behind me. I've got signed Ewing. I've got a nice Bobby Jones painting, some golf stuff, right? And I've got Amari, right? And I've got Bernard King as well. Now, the reason I put Amari up there, like he's not one of my all-time favorite players, but the symbolism there, he earned that spot. Again, I wouldn't have gone out and bought it. And for a while, like when she brought it home, I'm like, all right, I really like Amari and I respect him coming here. I don't know if that's worthy of being hung on the wall, but it is, because like Julius Randle, although Amari was more, I'm going to sign with the Knicks, it represented somebody coming to the Garden and viewing like the Knicks as like basically having the broad enough shoulders and the stones to say, you know what, I'm going to try to come and elevate this shit team. That's what I'm going to do. And I've got massive respect for anybody that is willing to take on, at that point, that Herculean task. And Amari was one of them. So anyway, just a little backstory there. As per the text, do I see the similarities? Obviously different players, and you referenced that. You're right there. Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. I mean, the knee was more arthritic. And remember, he had that bone on bone, and what's that procedure called? I'm forgetting that procedure, where they drill the holes in there, and then like the blood and the marrow emulsifies and comes out and forms like some sort of sheath or tendon. What the hell? Microfracture. There it is. Actually, I didn't think I was going to come up with that. Microfracture. And when you have the microfracture, that is very different. That is bone on bone. That is degenerative. That is just not really sustainable. Now, if you rupture your Achilles and you're somebody whose game is predicated on burst and hops and quickness, that's not exactly good either. Kevin Durant looks pretty good, you know. Now, somebody like Damian Lillard at that age, coming back when he does as a guard, all right, a little problematic. Isaiah Thomas back in the day, all right, a little problematic. But given his length, then again, he's not a real shooter. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't think listen, it's not a perfect situation. When you are in late January, understand this here, guys. When you're in late January and you are in the process of possibly, but certainly entertaining, taking the prospects of a wrecking ball to your franchise because what you have currently ain't it, you're obviously not in an optimal spot. Now, you could be in a worse spot. You know, you could be fighting for the 8th seed and not have Jalen Brunson and, you know, be just some middling team that's not going to be in position to get the first overall pick. And, you know, like the Knicks were for many years, like 8, 9, 10, 7, 11, whatever it might be. That's no man territory in the NBA. I know the play-in changes that a bit, gives you a little more competitive template in terms of more teams being involved. But no, this is less than perfect. Clearly, it's less than optimal. And that's because the bar has been raised. If you told me, it's all about perspective, guy. Like, it's all relative. Anything in life. That's why when I talk about gambling, right? When I talk about gambling, you know, it's all relative. Like, I'll tell you a story, like, you know, when I used to go to the casinos, play a little blackjack. Like, I wasn't going in there like grandma, you know, with $50 sliding $5 across the table. No, I love grandmas. Of course, you know I love grandmas. That's not a knock on any grandma anywhere. I love grandmas and grandpas. But I'm going there to win. Like, I'm going in there. I got my bankroll relative to me. And, you know, if I lose a couple of G's, this is before kids. All right. I mean, I can absorb it. I'm doing well. I'm working, you know, it's fine. But now if I would have lost more than my threshold, well, that's relative to me. And it's all relative to how you perceive your team and like where you were versus where you currently are. If you told me years ago, hey, like during the Isaiah reign or Hornacek or Fisher or Fizdale, whatever, or Phil Jackson is the president. If you told me back then, hey, guess what? In 2026, you're going to have one of the best players in the game in Jalen Brunson. And I know I always rail on Cat, but he's still top 20 player, maybe top 15 when he's going right. I've got to at least be fair. You're going to have this and that and a bench and this. And you know, you're going to have a chance to be the 1 seed. I'd be like, where the hell do I sign up? But when you get there, now the evaluation and the perspective changes. So what I once would have been beyond enthralled with to have, I am now looking for more because I realize the window is shrinking. And I realize that this team, at least in my firm opinion, and I've been on the record with this for a while, ain't going to win. So I want to do whatever it takes. Novak. What? This is why we fall in love with sports. Brad Kaufman. I'm confused by that. J-Rod, do you understand? I mean, I know who Steve Novak is.
I think it might be Novak Djokovic.
Okay.
Like tennis.
That's a random one.
Yeah.
I got you. Hey, you want to talk tennis? I could bring you back to Andre Agassi and Michael Chang and Pete Sampras. And I mean, I know some of the names, but that is one sport I can't watch. And this is me. I'm not shading tennis. Like, I actually enjoy playing tennis. Like, before we had kids and, you know, my wife and I would go on a lot of, you know, whether it was a cruise or tropical islands, you know, 4 or 5 days, you know, on the beach with all that stuff. And we would always, at some point, invariably find ourselves on a tennis court, you know, a little mojito or something on the side, but, you know, just volleying. Like, to me, it's like racquetball. I played a lot of racquetball, right? So I actually enjoy playing tennis. And I love playing golf, even though I'm awful at golf. And I love watching golf. I just can't watch tennis for that long. I just can't. I just get really bored, you know? But it's an amazing sport. It really is. Can we get a quick gambling story if you have time? Ooh. You know what? I actually have a fun. You know what it is, that cut? It's a Friday. I got a funny one for you here. It's a true story. All right. And then I'll get back to the Knicks stuff. This is funny. All right, let's see. Maybe I got to make sure I've got the details right. So I think this was 2011. I just moved out to San Francisco, left 10:50, out in San Francisco to do afternoon drive at a new station that wasn't even around. Like, they just popped up, FM, brought in some talent, brought me in from New York, right? And I had a blast, right? Lived right where the Giants play baseball, along the Embarcadero. Beautiful, beautiful, right? I just got married. So anyway, my wife at that point was selling for like their SNY, their MSG, Comcast, right? And like the Niners and the Raiders post game and the Giants and the Warriors. So she's doing sales. So she's really invested in the Niners. She wants the Niners to win. And this is Jim Harbaugh's first year. This is so funny. I'm trying to remember the exact point spread. That's a little dicey, but I think I will. Anyway, the Niners, and it's early in the season. J-Rod, can you look this up actually? Look up it had to be 2011. 2011 49ers playing at Philly. I feel like it was in the first month and a half of the season, and I didn't believe in the Niners. Like, they were awful all these years, and I knew Harbaugh was a good coach, but so I'm like, all right, and they were playing better, and they'd won a couple of games early, but I'm like, nah, they're going to get rolled. They're going to get punked by Philly, going across the country, early start, all the gambling things that you convince yourself about. So anyways, I pushed this story along, but I got to make sure I dot the I's here. That's important.
All right. It says the San Francisco 49ers were approximately 4.5-point underdogs to the Philadelphia Eagles in their Week 4 matchup on October 2nd, 2011.
Okay, and the 49ers won that game, correct?
49ers won 24-23.
Yeah, yes. Okay. So now we're in this really, really nice 2-level apartment in downtown San Francisco. And let me just put it this way. I'm up. Like, so it's one of these years where, I bang out some wins early on in college football. I got so I got a nice little bankroll, where I'm like, all right, my whole season's laid out. This is the dream betting scenario. You're not chasing early in the year. You come out red hot. Like, you pipe a couple of over-unders in college, right? You hit some early NFL. I'm probably up like $5,000 or $6,000 at this point. So this was the worst beat I've ever had. So I was worried about the point spread. I'm like, Harbaugh's a really good coach, and their O-line is good, and they run the ball, Frank Gore, and they could play good defense. Yeah, I don't know about the point spread. But the Eagles are going to win. Let me take the Eagles on the money line. Just win the game. J-Rod, if you can further delve into that game, tell me what the score was at the half. I'm almost positive that they were winning big, like by 2 scores, right? 13-0, maybe more, whatever it was. They were up, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, it's going to be a great year, right? Now, I'm watching on one level in our apartment, and my wife, she's like doing laundry with it.
13-3 at the half. 13-3 at the half.
Eagles are winning 13-3 at the half. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, remember, I'm just doing money line. Now it's like minus 280, whatever. So, but I also bet a lot. So to win, I'm laying heavy odds because they're fairly, sizable favorites. So they're up 13-3 at the half. They're controlling the tempo, running the ball. Niners doing nothing on offense. I'm basically already, and you shouldn't do it, starting to count my money, right? My wife's upstairs doing what she's doing, watching, because she's from Dallas. I think she's watching a Cowboys game, but I'm watching the Niners because that's what I'm talking about, doing afternoon drive in San Francisco. So, we'll come back. The Eagles are running for a first down, if I recollect this properly, and time's ticking, right? And they've got a first down. All you got to do is hold on to the ball. First down, boom, move the chains, tick, as Chris Berman. Time expires, BT wins a shitload of money. A lot, right? Quarterback's running. I think it may have been Justin Smith, the defensive end they call him Cowboy for the Niners, reaches from behind him, bangs the ball loose. It's on the turf. I'm like, there's no way that this is who's got the ball. Niners got the ball. So now the Niners come back. Niners win the game. So I probably lost about 5,000 on that game. Now, but I was up because I don't bet that way unless I'm up. And I don't bet that way anymore at all, like that at all. Not with kids and real responsibilities. So the worst part about it is that my wife, who is on that second floor, but you can look down to where I am, and I'm laying on the ottoman. I'm like this. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I just lost. I don't say a word. She's like, yay, the 49ers won. Woo! And she's cheering. And it's not her fault. In her mind, she's like, it's going to help sell ads on the TV station, and the Niners, hey, we just got to San Francisco. The 49ers are good. Yay, yay, yay. And I'm like, yep, good job, Niners. Good job, Niners. Fantastic job, Niners. So that's a gambling story for you. Brutal one. You're up big. You don't need to cover spread. You just got to win the game. Much better team at home, commanding throughout the entire game. Last second loss. Woof. All right. So anyway, the Giannis stuff, as I circle back to this, it's really going to come down to him behind closed doors, basically telling the Bucks, if you don't ship me to the Knicks, I'm not playing ball. And the reason why his contract is so important, I told you about the max extension, which he's eligible for after next season, 4 years, about 275 is the number. But what he could do, because 2027 is an option, if he's getting dealt to, I'm just throwing this out, the Timberwolves, and he's like, I'm not going to Minnesota. Like, if he tells, or his agent tells Minnesota, you could trade for me and you could give up basically your entire team to get me, but I'm not sticking around here. And I'm going to opt out. And then you basically get him for 40 games, and then he opts out in 2027. So there's a lot of contractual logistics here. There's the timeline of now before Thursday, February 5. There's the timeline that includes many more teams over the summer. There's a lot of problems right there. And not to mention that he's been banged up. And I know that next text is chronicling deeper. I'll get into that in a minute. He could break down at any second. The Knicks could absolutely gut the roster, get Giannis. It could be great for a week whenever he comes back, and God forbid, bang, he goes down, even if it's not the worst go down, but could go down again, strain his calf, and now he misses a month and a half, and then it's just Jalen by himself. Like, there is a lot to calculate, but I've already made my calculation. I'm rolling the dice. I'm doing it. How about at Mellow Mike 7? A big Mellow fan, huh? No disrespect. Melo is so overrated. Yeah, he really. I'm not even going to go on that tangent. Great scorer, all-time NBA scorer, overrated, Nick. The love for Melo from some of you, no disrespect, is just ridiculously over the top. Anyway, at Mellow Mike 7. What up, Mike? Good morning, BT. Love your show. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I did some research last night. Giannis has recorded. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of this. What? Get the hell out of here. Come on, man. I mean, obviously, this has to be a gimmick here. Since 2017, 59 reported knee issues. Come on. 22 calf reports and 2 Achilles issues. It looks like a recipe for a breakdown. Well, I mean, I would imagine that you're kind of messing around and just having a little fun with that. I don't really know any Achilles issues. And thanks for the text there, Mike. I know about the at least three documented calf issues, which, as we know, is clearly connected to the Achilles. So that's something you're going to have to be okay with if you want to make that trade. But, he is a player with a lot of miles, 31, been around, 11 years, whatever it is, something like that. Plays big minutes. He's played deep into the playoffs many times. He's a player who relies on burst and quickness and hops and speed and all that stuff. I'm not saying that this is perfect, but I can promise you that if the Knicks and the Knicks, I believe, will be willing to acquiesce to whatever it takes. Like, if you want this guy, you want that guy, we'll get this third team in. We'll get Drew Holiday. We'll get some more picks. Like, I believe that Leon Rose, twofold. Number one, is willing to do all the things that I've said that you have to think about and calculate before you take a massive swing like this. Number one. Number two, I also think he's got the sensibility and the juice around the league to line up whatever needs to be lined up, third team, fourth team, to make this happen. Draft swaps, young players. Like, I do believe that they want him, and I do believe that they're taking their best swing. And I also, unfortunately, understand that comes with incredible risk, and the reward could be phenomenal if the Knicks, and they won't do this, if the Knicks were to say, it's not worth it, somebody's going to get him. And I can promise you, given the Knicks' luck, we're probably going to be sitting there in late May and then into June and then into mid-June. And if it's the right situation, watching Giannis be crowned the champion again. And a very high level of probability winning the NBA Finals MVP again. And, if I thought that there was more with this team, this is not the route that I want to take. Let me be very clear. I don't really think that this is the prudent play. I don't. I just don't care. Like, I'm taking a chance. I want to win, Like, I got a lot of stuff in my home office. You guys can see right there. That's the Big East. That's kind of obscured by the BT Unleashed logo, but that's St. John's Big East champions, right? I got my Yankee stuff over there. I had to rearrange the office a bit, as I said. You know, like I've got this Nick ball over here. Let me grab this, actually. That is signed by, who the hell signed that? Oh, that's right. That was Porzingis. Porzingis, wow. I've got a piece of the old garden floor signed by Clyde Frazier. Yeah, I'd like to get somebody like in the pipeline. I got something by Bernard King over there, something signed by Reggie. Got a little DiMaggio. I mean, even though I didn't see a lot of those guys play, I love the history. And I love the Knick history. I just like to have some of the Knick history be my history. You know what I mean? Like, I want to win. And there is nobody, I don't care how much you think you know. I don't care what kind of argument you can craft. I don't care if you're the best lawyer. Like, you are in a courtroom and you can argue anything and you can win. You're not winning this one if we were going toe-to-toe. No, and I say that like not as a pompous jerk, but just the evidence does not support whatever you would try to sell me about this group of Knicks being able to win a championship. They're not good enough. And I think most of us know that. I'd say about, if I had to guess, broad parameters, I would say that about 70%, 60 to 65% of you are with me, around there. Then I think there's another delusional 10%, like in politics. Like, you got the wacky right side that's just beyond, you can't even have a conversation with them. There's the wacky left side that's beyond, you can't even have a conversation with them. Most of the other stuff, there are levels of sensibility, even with disagreement. But I do think within the framework of this conversation, I think there's probably, again, about 10% of you who delusionally believe that Cat's going to magically find it and this team is going to win. Let me spare you the suspense. He won't and they won't. So that's what I believe. And if you come to that conviction, which I came to a while ago, you're ready to make the trade. Add whatever it takes. Add B. Kleiner. I've been to 105 of the last 122 home games, and I've invited you to join me. Okay. Well, first of all, it's very generous. I've gotten a few invites. Maybe you send me a DM or something so I could actually personalize that a bit more. Wouldn't trade for Giannis. Okay. Only want to add another bench piece like Alvarez or Beverly or
Sadiq Bey, I think.
Oh, Bey. Sadiq Bey. I was like, I thought he meant BEV, Bev. Yeah, Sadiq Bey. Okay. I mean, I get that. I'd like to know the rationale. Is it because you're too risk averse? And by the way, that's a pretty sound, to an extent, investing philosophy. Like, you can't just roll everything into, some wacky stock that you think might take off. You want to throw some bonds in there to even things out. You want to have a good, sound, diverse financial portfolio. So when this pops and this absolutely gets bludgeoned, which over any 10-year cycle on the stock market is going to happen, it's offset a little bit, and you mitigate risk and mitigate losing everything by having those safer, those bonds, those lower returns, but certainly safer ones. Maybe you're a bonds guy, and I'm okay with that. But I would love to know what that's rooted in. Is it rooted in, again, being risk averse and not wanting to get Giannis, fearful that his Achilles is going to snap the moment that they get him because of the calf? Or is it because you actually think with the right reinforcement, this crew can win? I think that it will be the latter, and I would disagree, even with one of those additions that you just mentioned. No. The problem with trying to win an NBA championship, and I don't mean if you have like a Kobe and a Shaq and a Bird or a Magic or a LeBron or like all-timers. I'm not talking about that. Knicks have no all-timers. Now, we got Jalen Brunson, who is on his way to becoming an all-time New York athlete. And if he ever wins a championship for the Knicks, then that goes higher. Than now you transcend, you become more national. But the stretch and the sound play, right, that is required to win an NBA championship. It's not a week. It's not a month like in the NFL, like a couple of weeks. Hey, win a divisional game, win a conference championship, go win the Super Bowl. It is week upon week upon week, and really month upon month of sound, structured, buttoned up, defensive, having the goods defensively, having the framework offensively, having all the coaching and the adjustments. Like, it's everything. And if you are short in one of those columns over the course of that long 8-week run, you're going to be exposed. So listen, I'm not saying that Cat can't come out in the first round and, pump in 26 points a game and 13 and a half rebounds and, average 35 minutes and stay away from dumb fouls. Of course, he's a hell of a talent. He's a top 20 player, might be top 15. Of course, he's capable of that. But do you trust him to do that for 8 weeks, for 9 weeks, against better and better and better teams, against better and better and better coaching, with more and more and more pressure? My answer is no, which is why I come to my reasoning that I do. Now, you don't have to agree. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I think. And I thought this for a while. He's too slow, he's too sloppy, and he's too soft with certain things. Like, I know I touched it, and again, I'm not trying to bag on the guy, but he really is the essence of this conversation. Think about this. If Karl Anthony Towns was better at what drives us crazy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We understand that Jalen Brunson's deficient defensively. We accept it because he's a killer. He's a last-second bucket getter killer. So you can live with him getting schooled on defense and being a problem with teams hunting him in switches and everything they run offensively, go to him, and then, of course, going to Cat, right, in space. But if he was better at the things that we always complain about, I would not be sitting here saying, yeah, you know what, find a third team, find a fourth team, give up. Now, I prefer to give up Bridges much more than OG, but whatever it takes, right? Give up Bridges, give up Deuce, give up Kolek, give up 3 first-round picks, protected, unprotected, whatever it takes. I would not be espousing that because I wouldn't need to. Because at that point, the Knicks would be complete. Like, if Towns was what we wanted him to be. Defender. Just more sensible with the fouls. Not as lazy. He has been lazy, dragging his ass up and down the court. Even Clyde, who never criticizes. I love Clyde, but, come on. You got to be a little real once in a while. Even he's on Clyde's last nerve, like, where's Towns? Come on, get back in the play. How I don't have a Clyde impersonation. I think it's been 4 times in the last 3 weeks where we have seen Karl Anthony Towns on the floor at one end of the court, and then maybe 12, 13 seconds later, nonchalantly waltz his way into the picture. Dude, what do you think? I'm not connecting my future to that guy. I don't think he's getting along with Mike Brown. I don't think he likes the way Mike Brown's using him. I know for sure Mike Brown and others are getting a little pissed at the lack of effort and the inconsistencies. So to me, the marriage is broken. Like that basketball relationship has been breached to a point where I don't think that it's reconcilable anymore. I just don't. I think it's broken. And you have an amazing window to try to go out there and get somebody who can fix that disrepair. It's going to take a lot, and I'm willing to do it for the 1,000th time. I want to give you something on Gruden real quick. J-Rod, fire in some more of those texts when you can. Let me just get this right here. Hold on a second. Nostalgia is a little one here. Nostalgia, Nick, 48. Nick, Cat's the scapegoat. Like, that's something else I get. And Nostalgia, Mr. Nostalgia, Mrs. Nostalgia, appreciate that. But, like, I do see that a lot now. Oh, you guys, and not just me, because I try not to make it personal. Oh, you guys are bagging on Cat. Oh, you guys are using him as the scapegoat. We're using him as the scapegoat, to use your phraseology, because he is really the central point of everything that's wrong with the Knicks. I don't know how you don't see that. He's not a good defender. He's lazy. He's inconsistent. And he doesn't seem to be mentally and physically engaged all the time. What else do you need to see? Now, I'm not saying that everybody else is perfect. Again, I'll just go through some stuff here. Brunson, awful defender, okay? Mitchell Robinson, liability on offense. Mikal Bridges, until recently, and I love what he said the other night, that's real big boy accountability. I respect that. That's not easy to do. That's rare. Basically said I haven't been coachable. It's on me. I respect that. But he's still soft. He can say whatever he wants. He has proven to be soft, and he's proven to be inconsistent. OG, when OG's not getting shots, OG's defense and the tenacity dips a little bit. So I could go up and down the roster. I'm not saying that he's the only flawed player, but his flaws, just to me, my opinion, his flaws make the Knicks become fatal in terms of pursuing a championship for the Knicks. I think, if Cat was a little bit different, I think you kind of work around Bridges. I think you could work around OG a little bit, whatever. And OG's deficiencies aren't really that glaring. It's just that, when he's not getting shots, you see some of the focus or the attention to detail. He's not as locked in defensively. I can work around some of that stuff. If he was a better defender, then I could work around Brunson's defensive deficiencies. Like, if you don't see that, respectfully, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. At Nibbler Do. I don't know how some of you come up with these. It's funny. At Nibbler Do. Gonna be Melo 2-0 all over again. Wow. 5 to 7 years of mediocrity, no chance to win a championship. All right. I mean, that's a bottom line, bold, also very bleak assessment. Now, first of all, I think that there's a couple of differences here. I get the parallel, and one of my gripes with Carmelo Anthony over the years has been that, always stems from his inability or reluctance or impatience to wait for the summer when he could have just become a Knick, right, by signing there. Here's the power play. I need it now. Get a few more bucks. And by doing that, they ripped apart the roster. Now, none of those guys went to be great players, but they were all purposeful and useful, whether it was Gallinari, whether it was Wilson Chandler, whether it was Mozgov. Like, it worked. It kind of fit, And by him busting it up, you didn't have a whole lot around you. And that was a big problem. So I know what you mean, like a loose comparison, stripping the roster to get a player, but let's not disrespect Giannis. I mean, you can do this. I am not putting Carmelo Anthony anywhere near Giannis Antetokounmpo in terms of the stratosphere of NBA royalty all time. Now, I have always said, and I said it 20 minutes ago because I mean it, Carmelo Anthony is one of the greatest scorers in the history of the NBA. Durant, some would say George Gervin, obviously Jordan, different level of talent, Kobe, but in terms of pure, like, hey, here's the basketball, go beat a double team, 3 levels, 3-pointer, mid-range pull-up, get to the rim, get to the stripe, we need points. Kevin Durant is right there, might be number one, actually. Maybe James Harden a couple of years ago, and so is Carmelo. He's in the conversation. So I'm never going to lose that perspective. Like, I don't have any animosity towards Carmelo, except that he was a little lazy, a little out of shape, definitely a chucker, horrid defender, and I don't think he was a great culture guy myself. Jeremy Lin, some other stuff. So to throw him in with Giannis is a real misrepresentation of what Giannis has done so far as a pro. I'm not feeling that at all. All right, so I got you. Boom, boom, boom. Make sure I didn't miss anything with that. All right. Yeah, that is a lot of this. This one will be quick here, this particular aspect. Now, and by the way, J-Rod, keep pumping those in, buddy, all right? And it is a Fire It Up Friday. What did I call it? Not Friday. Not Fire It Up Friday. What did I call Air It Out Friday? What was the term? Hold on.
I think it was Fire It Up Friday.
Let It Rip Friday.
Let It Rip. There we go.
Yeah. It's a Let It Rip Friday. So Let It Rip Friday is basically just let it rip. You got something on your mind about a team, about the industry, about this show, about anything. I mean, let it rip. Now, maybe I'm not saying I'm just going to answer blindly every single question. If it's, too out of bounds or too personal, I'm going to tap the brakes there. But I think you guys know me by now. There's not many boundaries, particularly on BT Unleashed. So if you got something you want to throw by me, hit it up, whatever it might be. All right, get to that in a minute. So let me get this out of the way. BT Anthony Mofetta 3264. BT, any word on the spring training trip with Sal that you mentioned? Would be an awesome time. Thank you for that. Now, unfortunately, all right, now the BT and Sal live show was phenomenal. Thank you for that, J-Rod. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Sold out. Boone was great. Awesome night. A template for future shows. The next target's Long Island. That's where we're going. That's going to happen, right? The BT and Sal spring training trip, logistically, I want to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to work out. Not from us, but Sal can't do it when I can. He's got a commitment. And then when he's free, I've got a couple of St. John's commitments, games, filming and I can't just bail on that. I wouldn't. Filming the TV show with Patino, especially as we're getting into the meat of March Madness. So the logistics aren't going to work out. And then I was even talking to my guy Martucci, who sets up the jet trips, the giant trips, set up the whole BT and Sal Live. Like, he's my guy. He's now, I mean, he is running point on all this. He's the best. Gets the venue, the absolute best. Martucci, I love him. The best, right? But then I was thinking, all right, if I can't do it with Sal, which I really wanted to, because we were going to do like a day and a half in Tampa, a day and a half in Port St. Lucie, obviously connect with Boone. He was going to work to get Mendy, obviously take it a game or two, have a big dinner. And we were even thinking, and we would be, this would have been easy to do. Get like Dwight Gooden, get up there, have dinner with us and Q&A and all that. It's just, the logistics are not going to work out. And then when I talked to Tooch about maybe me just going based on working around my schedule, it didn't really line up with the Yankees being, I wasn't going to go to Port St. Lucie by myself. I was going to go to Tampa, and the dates aren't working out. So I hate to put the kibosh on it because, man, we want to get down there. And I know that you guys would have been very enthused to do it and join us. And it would have been an incredibly intimate, personal experience. I mean, geez, baseball in February, early March. I mean, with this weather now down in Tampa and Port St. Who the hell wouldn't want to do that? But I don't know if it's going to work. And I don't want to mislead you guys. So I would say for this one, no. But round 2, BT and Sal Live out east, Long Island, already in the motion. And many of you have said, hey, you got to come to Long Island. Got to come to Long Island. We're coming to Long Island. We'll let you know about the dates. We'll let you know about the venue. Once everything's official, it's coming. At their, how do you read that? Thayer Gate Deli.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Thayer Gate Deli. It's just with no spaces, but I get it. Thayer Gate Deli, 6678. You got to remember, man, all these years, I'm used to looking at a screen, seeing Mike in Queens. We got Joe in Brooklyn. We got Willie in Long Island. We got Timmy in Connecticut. I mean, so give me a little time to get used to these no spaces. Off topic. I used to own a deli right outside of Thayer Gate, West Point. Okay, there you go. All right, now it makes more sense. If I can name a sandwich after, I guess
it'd be after
me.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa! If I can name a sandwich after you, what would the sandwich consist of? Thank you, big man. Let's go Mets. And I only say that because I know LGM means let's go Mets. I'm not saying let's go Mets. He is. First of all, I love the Hudson Valley. Went to Marist. Love West Point. A few of my buddies went to West Point from high school. I played at West Point when I was at Marist. I actually got a funny story from that at some point that I'll tell you. I went to basketball camp at West Point going into my freshman year of high school. I went up there, played golf up there. I love it. Hudson Valley is very, very special place in my heart. So I guess you would just call it what, BT, whatever. So I'll let you come up with the name. In terms of what I need on the sandwich, this is actually pretty easy. I'm going to give you the whole sandwich right now. Roast beef, extra thin. All right. Roast beef, extra thin. Extra mozzarella. Got to have extra mozzarella. Roasted red peppers. Little drizzle, little oil and vinegar, a little bit. Now, and then on the other side, now some might not love the texture. That's fine. This is my sandwich. Roast beef, extra thin, extra mozzarella, roasted red pepper, little drizzle, oil, vinegar. And on the other side, just a little trace of pesto. Like instead of mayo, a little pesto. How's that? Now, that's a sandwich. Then you throw in a little orange soda or a little ginger ale and a little bag of chips.
The roast beef or chicken cutlet. But yeah, that every ingredient is exact.
Right? How's that?
Fire.
That's good. And by the way, Jay, I'm a massive chicken cutlet fan too. Now, I mean, who doesn't love chicken Parmesan unless you're allergic to it? That's easy. But I even love like chicken, roasted red, mayo, I like that as well. Balsamic, some lettuce, but I'd have to go the roast beef extra thin, and it's got to be extra mozzarella. And then what I do, because I get that sandwich every Sunday during football season, right? Kind of my cheat day, even though my cheat day, I cheat during the week, whatever. I eat whatever I want. But what I'll do is when I get back, I'll put that sandwich in the microwave for about, not much, 15 to 18 seconds, just a little salt, just a little bit. Soften that mozzarella just a little bit.
Perfect time because it
Right?
doesn't. It's like doesn't impact the taste.
Nope.
That's like once you get in that 30-second range,
You know what I'm
kind of
saying.
got that perfect blend.
You're a veteran of the microwave
Yes,
sandwich.
sir.
I do that a lot. Like you,
Of course.
just perfect it up, just soften it up. The bread gets a tick softer, even though where I go, the bread's great. The bread gets a little softer. None of the consistency is compromised, but and then the cheese isn't dripping like a Philly cheesesteak, just soft enough.
Yes,
Perfection.
sir.
There you go. So that's the sandwich that I would give you. Hopefully you get it up there on the deli board at some point. I promise. I will come in with the family and we will get one. There, maybe we'll make a day of it. You know, if there's any BT Unleashed fans up there, and I would imagine there are. Maybe I come out, do a little appearance, have a little fun, introduce the sandwich. I'm dead serious. I would absolutely do that. At Avery Summit. Hey, BT, if Giannis trade doesn't work out, is there another deadline move you can see putting the Knicks back as a legit title contender? You know, that's a good question, Avery, and I'm not trying to be evasive. I just really haven't given it a ton of thought. Like, yeah, obviously Drew Holiday, you know, like Drew to me seems to be the impetus to further convince Giannis to flex on the Bucks to say Garden or bust, which then I think would work no matter what the Knicks are offering. Because I do think the Bucks would acquiesce, and if he really steers the wheel to the Garden, I think he could do it at 75, 80, 82, 85 cents on the dollar, rather than getting bent over for $1.40 on the dollar for somebody like Giannis. But I don't know if they would do that independent of Giannis. Let's just say, forget about Giannis. I would still take Drew Holiday. He's made big shots. He's won. He's used to playing in big games, and the defensive pressure that he alleviates from Brunson. Let's go. Yeah. So, I mean, that's one. I know Alvarez, a little bit smaller, pesky. I like him. Local kid. But those are and then, you know, the one thing that you might want to investigate now, this is something that's kind of a yearly occurrence. You know, so he's holding up so far, but I wouldn't mind getting a more serviceable big man in there just in case, God forbid, knocking on the wood, Mitchell Robinson goes down. Yet he just back to back can't really. And I don't mean a star. I mean a guy who can, rebound, clear the board, run the floor a little bit, alley oops, flips, run into the rims, setting picks, stuff like that. Not looking for Akeem Olajuwon. At Nikki Formato 150. As a chef, I'm already on recipe testing this, BT. Let's go. Nikki, you don't need to be a chef to understand that what I just served up is a home run. Now, obviously, there's a couple of components that you got to like roast beef. You got to like mozzarella. You got to like oil and vinegar. You got to like the other side, a little pesto. You can even go, if you want, a little bit on the other side, a little mayo if the pesto is a little bit too much for you. But you don't want like a ton of mayo and then a ton of oil and vinegar. Then it gets a little, and even if it's just a trace of pesto or mayo, too much. That's why I say a drizzle, just a little trace there. The oil and vinegar, if then you get the bread that's soggy and that's untenable. So there's a lot. But as a chef, you obviously know that. So you will ration that stuff off properly. All right, let me give you this. Keep firing them in, by the way. Good job today, Jay Wright. He's on point as usual. So I don't know what to believe. I'll eventually tell you what my opinion is here. But so did you guys see that Gruden refuted the report about the interest from the Jets, called it, quote, ridiculous? I don't know what to believe here. My opinion, now, I'm not going to call anybody a liar. I think Zach Rosenblatt had the report, I think. So, to me, that's a credible report. I'm sure he's well-sourced. I read him. I don't know him personally, but, I think he's got some good stuff. So, I'm not here to refute that. That's not my job. It's not my thing. Unless I think somebody's overtly lying, then I'll call him out. But I think Zach is good. All right, number one. Number two, I'm not going to call Gruden a liar because that's just not right. Like, I'm going to actually look into a camera and say, John Gruden, you're lying. I don't know. Maybe he's telling the truth. So I can only tell you what I believe. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. I'm parsing words here. It's my opinion that Gruden is lying. And the reason why it's my opinion that Gruden is lying is very simple. I think because the mess, the further mess that the Jets created for themselves this week. Wow. I mean, it really was unbelievable. Even the Jets sinking to that low, firing 8 guys. Oh, no, the OC is going to stay. Tanner Engstrand, who I believe is okay and is going to be a good NFL coach. Well, you're going to stay, but you're not going to call the plays. And then Tanner's like, whatever. And he's out the door. Now we got to find an OC. Then you hire some DC I never even heard of. Doesn't mean he can't be good, but I'm sitting here thinking Wink or Leonard, and I get that, what's his name? Bauer, Decker, Durker, whatever the hell that dude's name is. I mean, hopefully he's good, but it's just been a weird week for the Jets. And it's my opinion, it's my theory, more so, that Gruden is refuting this report to alleviate some of the bad press that the Jets have gotten. Like, because I crushed them. I'm like, well, are you kidding me? And not just me. You're going to reach out to John Gruden, not to be a head coach, to be Aaron Glenn's assistant coach? What's next? Bill Belichick is an intern? You want to have Bill Parcells, hold the first down stick at practice? I mean, you want to have Vince Lombardi's seventh grandchild come in and be the assistant to the assistant to the assistant to the quality control assistant? Like, what are you doing, man? Like, it was just such a sloppy Jetsian way of doing things. So I think that Gruden is putting on his big boy pants here. So again, it's my opinion. I believe it's true. Unfortunately, I think that the Jets are capable of being this dumb. Yes, this stupid, the inability to read the room, and that they did reach out to Gruden and gauge his interest. Hey, you want to come help out Aaron? And he's like, no, I'm going to hang out with Barstool, which is a much better gig. I mean, imagine an NFL coach who's dying to get back into the game, choosing a media outlet rather than getting back into the game. And he's got a good thing at Barstool. I love Gruden. I think Barstool does good stuff too. I always have. I think they're funny. I think their content's good. I think they're pioneers in a lot of ways. So Gruden's having a ball, saying whatever he wants, yucking it up with a bunch of lunatics on there doing their thing. So, but I think what Gruden's doing is he's trying to shield the Jets a little bit because he's playing a long game. He's playing the PR game. So I believe, and you don't have to be a genius to deduce this, that there's a pretty good chance that Aaron Glenn's gone next year. And I think Gruden throwing a little, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's just further making the Jets look like idiots and incompetent team. Let me throw him a life preserver. No, the Jets never offered me a job. No, they didn't. So when you refute that report, which I am choosing to believe is true, my opinion, you are now getting a little extra tick of goodwill and equity in the Woody column, so that invariably when Aaron Glenn is fired, guess who's getting the first call? Probably John Gruden. That's not the first call that I would make, but in his mind and in their mind, it's probably a relationship that has a high probability of happening. Now, I would go after Tomlin. I would see what good coach is fired after this year. Once I saw that McDermott was fired, I would have sent Aaron Glenn packing. Once this circus of a coaching, filling out the coaching staff went down, I probably would have said, all right, I'm going to bring McCarthy in. Like, there's other things I would have obviously done, but they're not because they're the Jets. So we are left with the hysterical report of John Gruden turning down the offer. Wow, what an amazing offer. God, how did I get so lucky to come and be an assistant to a coach who comes across as utterly clueless right now and a situation that is fairly hopeless? How do I turn down that job? Let me see. Going into a nice air-conditioned or now heated studio, hanging out, chopping it up on Barstool, getting good money, or going to that shit show? Which one should? I'm going to stay with Barstool. You just can't make this up. You can't make this up. At Lionheart 10182, any opinion on the Durker hiring? I think, is it Duker or Dirk? Either way, Duke of Earl. Personally, watching the Lions defense wouldn't be taking too much from that staff. I did say that. Thanks for the text there at Lionheart. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Aaron Glenn as the DC got absolutely smoked in the playoffs by the Commanders at home. Well, they give up 40-something points. The team was not rated statistically very well at all under Aaron Glenn. So you bring in Aaron Glenn as a defensive coach to coach the Jets, and the Jets defense was awful. And now you're going to double down and bring somebody else who was in the building and part of that bad defense, and now double down and bring him into the Jets building. So that is my opinion. I don't know what they're doing. I don't. I wish I had more clarity. I wish I had more confidence. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do, but I really don't. I don't. Oh, at Robert McGuire, 1068. I don't think that's Bobby McGuire, who I went to high school with. Good football player, good dude. Rugby. I don't think that's him. Anyway, Robert, what's up, Rob? BT, great show. Did you hear back from Brian Cashman on the offer that you put out there on the air? I have not yet heard from Brian Cashman. I did not expect to hear from him yet. I am going to follow up with Jason Zillo, who is the PR of the Yankees and has done some good things for me in the past. You know, with Rodon when he signed, he got him for me and Tiki. Obviously, when I was doing some of those games a couple of years ago, filling in for Susan in the radio booth, he was a great liaison, fantastic. You know, helped connect me because I'd never done that job, so I didn't really know exactly where to go and blah blah blah, and what time's Boone going to speak and all that stuff. So, you know, I don't know Jason incredibly well, but he's been helpful to me in the small samples that I've dealt with him, and I, you know, face to face, I think he's a good dude. So I'm going to reach out to him. I'm just going to let that permeate social media for a little bit. And it's not like some aggressive showdown like me versus you, Cashman. I'm going to eviscerate you. I'm going to smoke you. No, come on the show. You issued a challenge. It's your words. You said, I challenge anybody to prove that we're running it back with the same team, which, by the way, you are, and our World Series viability, which is a different conversation, much more nuanced. And I mean, you know, they're good, so they've got a chance to win the World Series. I don't know how hard I could push back on that, but without a leadoff hitter, without a reliable, you know, couple of righty hitters, without a bullpen before you get to Bednar, and, you know, like, you still got some stuff to do. But I reacted to the challenge. If you're going to put that out there, Brian, you got to respond to somebody's challenge. Hell, even if it's not me, I'll start stumping for somebody else. You've got to accept that challenge. Otherwise, it is a flimsy, baseless challenge. And I will treat Brian with great respect. I like Brian. Said it a lot. He's a pit bull. He's feisty. I've interviewed him 3 or 4 times in the past, you know? No nonsense. He's going to stand up for what he believes in, and I respect that. I just want to have a conversation and eventually debate and push back on what he said. Now, if he didn't preface that with, I challenge anybody, then I would just be reacting to his opinion, which I also disagree with. But now, trying to get him on the show. But we have not had him. We have not had a guest yet. I'm waiting for the full studio design. I know I've said that a lot, by the way. Guys, you got to understand. Like it's still January. We rolled this out, 4 days before Christmas? Think about the progress we've made, too. Yeah, I'm really happy with the progress. But when the guests come on, by the way, I was texting Stephen A. the other night. Stephen A. is going to be one of my favorite interviews that I think I've ever done, because I'm going to have him we're going to carve out an hour, and there's going to be no boundaries. And I texted him. He's like, whenever you need me, we'll get it done. Now, he's got an incredibly busy schedule. I don't think it will be at 10 in the morning because he's got first take, so we'll have to tape it. But we're going everywhere, because the one thing, and this is a good thing, and this is why I think it will be a different conversation or an interview than maybe Steven's done in a long time, or maybe ever done. You guys know the Steven that you see now. You guys know the Steven that has built himself into the biggest megastar, this generation's Howard Cosell, and I can make the case even more, right, than Howard was, to parallel it back to the 60s and the 70s and into the early 80s with Howard Cosell. But I know Steven when he was just starting out. I met Steven in 2004, 2005. You know, was still writing, was just getting his chance in radio. First take wasn't there yet, you know? So we could go to places that I think others can't because they didn't know him then. And there's some funny shit that we talked about and we went through. I can't wait. I'll tell you a very quick, this is funny, very quick, funny Stephen A. story. So remember a show called Quite Frankly, right? This is funny. And this one, he was really starting to become a mega star. This is like, to me, this was the first thing where it's like, wow, look at this dude. Not just radio, but they made a show for him on ESPN when you had to watch ESPN. Like, I don't watch ESPN now unless there's a game on it. And I'll put on First Take here and there because I love Steven. But so much of the stuff is, I got no interest. I don't need it. I don't watch it. I don't need it. Whatever. That's my opinion now of ESPN. But then it ran the show. And they start this show. So Stephen A. and I are doing our show at 10:50, and our studio was in Madison Square Garden, 2 Penn. And across the street in the hotel, the Peninsula, I think is the name of it, if I have that right. That's where his, quite frankly, TV studio was. So let me get this straight. I mean, this one, you know, you made it, right? Not only are they creating a show around your amazing talents, but to make it easy on you, they're also building a studio right across the street from your radio studio. So you could just walk across 7th Avenue and go and do your thing. That's what they did. So anyway, I think he had Allen Iverson, his first year. He was very tight with AI, going back to his Philly days, as you know, covering the Sixers beat, man. And and I'll talk about this when I have him on the show, but this was funny from my point of view. So I'm on the air. We do the show. He's got to leave early. I think I'm finishing up the show. He's got to go do makeup, whatever. And he calls me frantically, right? He's like, yo, BT. And he was supposed to have, so it was the second or third day of the show. And I think he was supposed to have Shaq, whomever he was supposed to, and Chipper Jones, whomever he was supposed to have, they got snowed out or they couldn't make it. He's like, I need you to be on my show today, BT. No matter what you're doing, drop it. You got to come on. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm coming on, man. But I can't leave the studio, and I'm wearing, I don't know what I was wearing, but I'm not dressed to come on your show. So anyway, long story short, I give the intern at 10:50 the keys to my apartment. I'm living in Manhattan, Upper West. Goes to I'm like, hey, get this jacket, get this suit, get these this one, the cufflinks were really in. Get these cufflinks, here they are. Get this belt, get these shoes. He goes to my apartment, gets it, brings it back. I suit up in the green room, and Chipper Jones is on the show, and I'm shooting the breeze with Chipper, talking baseball. And I remember telling Steven, because we had our handshake, right? Now, Stephen A's got his handshake. I got my handshake. We eventually came to figure out our own handshake. First, it wasn't, I don't want to say it was awkward, but it wasn't, we were figuring out the handshake. I told him, I said, dude, this is national TV. If you bust out a new handshake and you make me look like that corny white dude who doesn't know how to shake hands and dap up, we're going to have a big problem. Like, make sure we do what we do. And it always ended with a hug. And I'll never forget, man. Oh, God, what you remember. Behind the curtain, I just get makeup. And it's a studio audience, too, by the way, if you remember that show. I'm getting ready to go out on the air. And the way he goes, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my right-hand man, Brandon Tierney, right? And I come out. And thank God it's bang, 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 boom, boom. And we sit down. I'm like, whoa, man. Because with that, you never know what that guy's going to going off script is one of the things he does best. Thank God he stayed with the handshake script. And yeah, I was on for about, I'd say a good 20 minutes talking about the Jets. I remember I was shitting all over that. I'm like, bench this guy. I benched that guy. Because what a surprise. The Jets weren't in a good spot back then. God almighty, the Jets. I do have one more thing about the Jets here. Hold on. All right. What was the best, most enjoyable, informative radio interview you've ever hosted with an athlete? The best, most enjoyable that I've ever hosted with. I got to think about that one. I've got to really think about that. I mean, those are a couple of different things. That's why I'm struck. So there's the best, then there's the most enjoyable, which might be more of a personal level for me. Then there's the informative. I got to think about that. I'm not even sure if I'm going to have an answer today. Usually very good on the spot. I want to give that the proper time. But I appreciate the question. And those are the kind of questions you can do on this kind of a show, obviously. Whatever you guys want to hit me up with. Now, real fast. So I gave you the Gruden stuff. I saw something with AVT. And this is not a deep dive here. This is a very surface presentation because I want to get to one more thing. So I saw Spotrac had projected numbers for Elijah Vera Tucker. 4 years, $70 million, $45 million guaranteed. Now, I think Spotrac is very good. There's no way he's getting that because he's had 3 season-ending injuries here with the Jets. Now, he's still young, and he's really, really good. Now, I would love, you got to hope for a situation where he's like, you know what? I've got my home. I've got my condo, whatever he has in Florham Park. I want to prove that I'm healthy. Let me do a 1-year deal, even if it's for a higher number, right? And hopefully he's amenable to that. I would absolutely do that. Like, I would say, Simpson was okay, but I would move on from Simpson because if you look at the Jets O-line, Olu's a beast. Membu might even be better. I thought Joe Tippmann, who moved from center to guard, did a really good job. Myers, who is the center, got the 2-year, $11 million extension. Now, Lindenbaum from the Ravens very well might be on the Ravens, on the Jets target. If that's the case, see you later, ABT. The money's going to him because he's more durable and he's better. But can you imagine a situation where you get the center from the Ravens, you get AVT on a cheap, prove it that you can stay healthy, not even cheap, but just 1-year deal with no long-term commitment and relatively smallish guaranteed money. And then either maybe Myers becomes kind of a swing backup, maybe. I mean, like the Jets are this close with one astute move and a little bit of luck from having a top 3 offensive line in football. I mean, there's not many teams that have bookend tackles to start. Bang, bang. So I'm very curious where that goes, what the market presents. But I saw that number from if Spotrac is right. Now they're just looking at age and past performance, and he's great. I'm not going to bore you with numbers here, but he's graded very, very well for PFF over the years. Win rate, pass block, run block. He's a stud. That's why every time AVT gets hurt, you're like, crusher. Especially when he gets hurt during training camp. That's one thing, you get hurt in Denver, which sucks enough, which he did a couple of years ago. But when you get hurt in training camp, it just takes all the steam out of the energy for the group. He's great. He's got a chance to be great. But if it's 4 years, 70 mil, 45 guaranteed, peace out, go get your money. I'm not mad at you. If he wants to be a part of the culture and the rebuild, and the Jets are willing to, because they got cap space, and the Jets are willing to push that, 1 or even 2 year, and the guarantee money's high, but it's not 4 or 5 years, then I'm all for it, because that kid, that young man is an absolute stud. Absolute stud. All right, let me hit you with this here. So Sunday night, if you guys are into, I want to give you something that is very, very sobering, but I do in terms of sports, not life or death, morbidity stuff here. Sunday night, I taped it the other day. I'm going to be on Fox News at 10 o'clock with Brian Kilmeade, One Nation. It's myself. It's a professor from the University of Florida that I'm forgetting his name right now. But it's good. We already recorded it like 10 or 11 minutes. And it's basically there was a study. And it's funny because I knew all the numbers because I've done research and I have a couple of chapters devoted to. I know I keep talking about this book. I got to finish it. But one of the chapters that's already written and pertaining to youth sports, and this is really the focus on Sunday. So I hope you guys watch it. Even if you're not a Fox guy, whatever, you watch CNN. Hey, by the way, CNN invites me. I'll go on CNN. A lot of you have said, and I understand. Let me actually preface something before I get to the numbers and the actual segment. A lot of you, or some of you, have said, and we are in a which I understand, we're in a very, very, and we have been really since COVID, and I mean, there's always been political discourse and, where do you stand? And, people, that's why they always say, don't talk religion, don't talk politics or around the holidays or on the air. And I don't. Like, I'm a sports guy, but I also really follow the world. And I've also said many times that I watch the news every night. It's generally how I fall asleep, and I fall asleep to both. I watch both. And I watch both because, number one, I want to see the presentation, and I don't want to be so one-sided. I want to incorporate everything into my thought process to help me come to the best determination, whatever the topic might be, for me, for myself, right? Like, I'm not beholden. I'm not just some zombie. Click, got to put on CNN. Click, got to put on Fox. That's all I want. Like, I read a lot. I follow a lot. I don't shove this stuff down your throat. That's not why you're here. I get it. But I have seen in some of the comments, many of you are like, that's awesome, obviously touting Fox News, and I respect that. Some of you are like, why are you going on there? Is that what you believe? I respect that as well. And I just said, if CNN wants to invite me on, I'll go on CNN. Like any platform, I'll go on CNN tomorrow. Any platform that for me, that I believe I can utilize to talk about something that's so important, youth sports. I'm not getting on there. I'm not talking about Greenland. I'm not talking about ice. I'm not talking about COVID or policy. I'm talking about youth sports. So I would like you guys to understand that. And as inflamed a society as we have, understand what the topic is. I hope you do. I really do. Because I think sometimes, too often, sensibility no longer wins out. And it's more being married to a certain disposition. And I get that. We all have our beliefs. Understood. I choose to surround myself with people who are a little bit more open-minded rather than just being so married to one fundamental point without any sort of flexibility on either side. It's a tough conversation to have, I've tried to have those conversations over the years. They're just not very rewarding. Like if you're sitting there talking to somebody who just believes what they believe and they don't want to hear anything or incorporate anything, even if it's counter to what they believe, but it's provable factually. I don't know how you engage in that conversation. Then it just becomes angry and it becomes destructive, and I'm not looking for that. All right. So I wanted to get all that out there. Now, the segment on Sunday night, one of the angles about youth sports is just how, so many parents have really kind of missed them. They missed the mark, like what they're hunting, what they're chasing, what they view, and what they position youth sports to be, right? I want to hit you with some numbers here. So I went to Marist, right? I forget what it was when I went there. Right now, Marist University, great school, phenomenal. They call it the Ivy on the Hudson. I don't even know if I would have gotten into Marist right now. Like if I was going now, I don't know. Marist is a phenomenal school that I love, that I played ball at, that I have friends at, that I've spoken at, that I support. Love Marist. Right now, Marist is about $72,000 to $75,000 a year. It's a lot of money. I don't care when you start that 529 fund, as I did right away, and expecting moms and dads, even if it's a couple of $100, a month, start it. It builds and it grows. And trust me, you don't want to start it when they're 11 and you chase and start it when they're born. They get that social security number when you can. Anyway, Marist is about 70. I'll say 72. My sister went to Boston College, which is a great school. And BC right now is about 90, like $88,000 to $90,000 a year. 90 grand for 1 year. That's 360. And that's now, forget about, in 7-8 years when my kids start preparing to go away to school. Crazy. It's just a lot of money. So anyway, the research that I did, and the professor I let him hit on this because this is his thing. It was his study. Even though I came across these numbers a couple of years ago, I just wanted to provide different context. I didn't want to just double down with what he's saying, but he's absolutely right. So I did it 2 years ago. 550,000 players or students played high school baseball. 550,000 last year. I'm going to hit you with loose numbers, right? Of the 550,000, about 2.7% went on to play college baseball. And the other sports obviously vary. I get that. Baseball. 550,000 people played, or young students played. 2.7 went on to play college. Now, by the way, that 2.7 is Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO, the entire thing. College ball at any level, 2.7% of the 550,000. Let that resonate. Think about that, right? And there's a greater point, which I'll lead to in a minute. Of the 2.7% of the original 550,000 number, athletes playing baseball, right around 1.7 or 1.8 played Division I. So follow me. 1.8% of the 2.7%, okay, who played high school baseball, 550,000, of that 1.7, fractionally getting lower and lower, about 10 or 11% received college baseball scholarship money. And when you incorporate NIL, it's like probably less than 1% for baseball, maybe 1 or 2. I didn't even do that research because I don't think you need to. I mean, the numbers are sobering enough. Think about that. 550,000 from every A to Z high school baseball players. 1.7 played Division I baseball. And of the 1.7, 10 or 11% actually had the school give them papers to sign for an athletic scholarship. Now, I didn't have a full ride at Marist. I had a little less than half, which was pretty good for baseball money. Not quite half, and I had more money at other schools, which I won't name, that I didn't want to go to. Didn't love the academic profile. The campus wasn't a fit. Marist was a better fit. Anyway, and a couple of guys I played with had more, and they were better, and they deserved it, right? Although by midway through my career, they were probably saying, give me back the money. So when you think about why there is so much energy toward youth sport, then this includes AAU hoops and dance and all the other stuff. It is a crazy world. Why do parents get so nuts? I think part of it, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about Sunday night, and I encourage you guys to tune in 10 p.m. on Fox. Part of it is that the pressures financially are so real that unfortunately for some, it's really the only avenue to be able to pay for college, at least in their minds. Now, there's grants, there's loans, there's academics, but sports, it's more fun chasing a baseball scholarship than it is chasing a math scholarship. Although you're probably better off chasing the math scholarship. I promise you the numbers are, if I found 550,000 kids that got a perfect score, or we'll say from 700 to 800 on their math, on their SAT, I would imagine that much more than 2.7% or 1.7% are getting academic money for college. I can promise you that. I'm not going to look into the numbers because I don't care enough, because I care about sports more. But it's really, you're chasing fool's gold. So I think part of the energy is misguided, and I do get it. I understand it, because parents get nuts and they worry, and it's a real concern. How am I going to pay? And if the young athlete shows some real signs early, well, they're only further emboldened. Like when you're the best player at age 7 in Connecticut, or like a couple of towns in New Jersey, or a couple of towns in Long Island, or a little piece of Florida, or Texas, or California, when you're 7, 8, 9, as a parent, you begin to think, well, why can't my son then eventually, or daughter, softball, be the best player in the state when they're in high school? And then LSU and Florida and Miami and all these baseball powerhouses are going to come knocking down the door with full rides and NIL. That's not going to happen. I mean, that's not going to happen to 99.9999999% of us. All right? Somebody's going to fill out those rosters. Somebody's going to get drafted, so somebody's going to get it. But to base a plan on that math is insane. But it's born out of fear, so I do get it. Like rationally and logically, I get it. I do. I think the other thing is, and I'm not going to get into this now, but I think a lot of it is that, there are some parents, and I think, if I was to be totally honest, I think early on, I probably wrestled with this maybe a little bit, not like a nutball, right? But I think some parents see skill in their child, and they're like, okay, if they're this now, and I played, and they're better than I was at this age, there's this whole thing that starts to kick around in your mind. And then there's a point where you got to stabilize that thought process, right? You've got to, like one thing that, and I remember thinking this early, like with my son, because I couldn't run for shit. I was slow. I could not. 6'2.5", 210, 215, good size, good frame, good arm, really good arm. Could hit a fastball, good lefty swing, good hands. Couldn't run. So when I saw my son get on a field when he was 6, 7, and beyond, he was always quick twitch. He could run. It was a fluid gait. And in my mind, I'm just being totally honest with you. In my mind, I'm like, all right. I mean, if he gets my size and he moves like that, and I'm not alone in thinking that, all right? And then maybe if you don't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish at that level, and I did not at that level, I got the scholarship, I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, maybe in the minds of some, including me for a minute, there's some unfinished business, and you do live a little vicariously through that. Listen, none of us are perfect, man. When you're a parent, when you become a parent, I don't care, what you read and how much you pray, and that's all great stuff. There's no roadmap to actually how to figure stuff out when things are going down in real time. There's just not. So it is a very sobering reminder that those numbers are, man, they are paralyzing, because they just force you to think and to do things that I think if it wasn't so out of whack, I don't think that you would do. And I think that kind of in turn leads to some, crazy emotions in the stands, and so-and-so's not playing enough, or he's not playing the right spot, or he's not batting in the right spot in the batting order. The other thing you're going to learn, and I've learned this as well, 8, 9, and he just turned 11, so there's still more years of this. 10, 11, 12, doesn't mean anything. What it means is, do they know the game? Do they love the game? Do they want to compete? Are they a good teammate? Is there a foundational toolbox that you think will only grow with more dedication and puberty and maturity? But how many home runs you hit at the age of 9, I don't care how far they go over the fence, means nothing. It means nothing. How hard you throw at this age means nothing. So I'm not preachy. I'm just telling you what I've been through, the numbers, the interview coming up Sunday on Fox. I would say tap the brakes. It's also a lot easier said than done when you're in the moment. I get it. At JKBK1313. Do I think NIL is bad for college sports? No, I don't. I mean, I understand why you would ask that question, and there's parts of me, not in terms of what's right for the young student athlete. They deserve it. I mean, they've been getting screwed for years. You've got these, these presidents of universities making millions on the backs of, kids that come from some kids come from affluence, but, a lot of athletes not coming from much and, selling jerseys without the name on the back in the school bookstore. And we all know whose jersey it is. And we all know about the TV rights and what the conference gets. It's all out of whack. So, yeah, these kids, of course, they should get paid. What I would like to see, there's got to be a recalibration. You see, what I think is awful, it's awful. I've talked to Rick about this, Rick Pitino. It is awful to every year just jump around. Let's say you go, I'll just use St. John's. Say if you go to St. John's at a high school, even though Rick's really not recruiting many high school players anymore. Let's say you're at Florida, and then you go to St. John's. 1 year at Florida, you get $1 million to go there. You don't love the situation. Let's say you're a two-guard. St. John's, they've got the bank now with Rapoli, so they're spending. Hey, we love you. You want to play for Rick. You want to be a pro. We'll give you 1.5. Come with us, right? All right, you sign it. You get the $1.5 million. All's good. St. John's thinks they have a stud, which on paper they probably do, and he's not happy. He's not getting the minutes. He's not getting the shots. He doesn't like the situation, doesn't like being in New York, whatever, but doesn't like the Big East. I don't know. Now that player is going to bounce, and then he's going to leave, and he's going to transfer to somewhere else, and it's going to be the whole dog and pony show again. Now, if he's not performing, that NIL will go lower. But the problem is, number one, from a team building perspective, and that's less of the, even though that's a big problem, I'm not really focusing on that now, but the team building's impossible. It's impossible. It really is. Like, that's why St. John's was ranked number 5 coming into the season. They had no business being there because nobody on the roster except Zuby, for the most part, was there when they did anything last year to justify that ranking. So that's all out of whack, and it's just throwing darts. Nobody knows. But I do think, now you can say that the money that you get protects you from this, but I am not a big believer in running away from problems. I'm not. Now, if a coach recruits you and he bounces and you went there primarily because of the NIL, because of him, his style, well, you shouldn't be beholden to stay there. If he could go to another school, so should you. I would like to see some sort of recalibration where, of course, the NIL stays. Of course, you could transfer, but it's like a 2-year commitment to a school. So at least you got to think you can get more money, but you got to stay 2 years. Unless the coach leaves, then you're free to go no matter what. If we're going to be treated like pros, and they are, and I get it, and they should to an extent, there's not just 1-year contracts out there in the NBA. I mean, you might have one guy that I just said AVT, I'd sign him for a year, but most of these guys get 2, 3, 4 years. Baseball, you get more. So why can't you get a 2-year deal in college and be beholden to that university for 2 years? It would be easier for the coach, so not every year you're rebuilding. And it will be, I think, better and more stabilizing for the kid because there's something to be said for plowing through adversity. There really is. I'll give you a story. Let me read this real quick. Andrew, what's up, Andrew? How you doing, buddy? Andrew in Bay Ridge. Unfortunately, the fun of baseball was sucked away. Both my sons grew up, gave it up. The leagues and the parents made it unbearable. Withdrew. Well, I don't know your exact situation. I don't take this the wrong way. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I would have to think if your sons were really good, they're not giving it up. And maybe they gave it up because the parents were unbearable and they were only okay. I don't know. I don't mean that as a shot. But if you're a really good player, you're going to find a way to work. You're going to get on a different team. Like, you're just going to find a different situation. Like if you're a bowler, you're not going to just stop playing. Now, if you get bored by baseball, maybe some do. Maybe you go play a different sport. Okay. But I would need to know a little bit more of the circumstances. But yeah, I believe that there's situations, whether it's coaches, whether it's parents, where it's just not right for the family and they go to a different circumstance and it's better. And I remember, so I was at Marist, it was after my first year at Marist, and I didn't play particularly well, but I was one of 2 freshmen, 2 first-year players who played. I played a lot, right? We weren't very good, whatever. But, I probably started, I don't know, 18 games, whatever it may have been. I have no idea. But, if I didn't start, I'd get in off the bat, pinch hit, go and play some first. I played fairly regularly, right? And the other player who was a freshman, who was just amazing, his name is Mark, wound up being the conference player of the year, just better than me, period. Nothing else to add, better. But at that point, I didn't think he was better. And at that point, I don't know that anybody really knew that he was going to be much better than me. Like at that point, I remember talking to my manager, like the end of the season conversation, and I was always very receptive to authority. You know, like I wasn't like, oh, why did I play? Like, no, that's not how I was raised. But I didn't like one thing that he said, even though he was right. He's like, listen, he's like, I think, you really you probably need to put on more weight because Mark, this other player, is just a better athlete. And he wasn't even a great athlete. He was just a great hitter. Led the nation in hitting. Not just like Florida State, Miami, #1 as a junior, led the nation. He was a phenomenal. Great dude, too. Coot, if you're out there watching, hell of a player. Wake up, he rolls out of bed, three bullets, just dots. Left field, right field, great player, great pitcher too. And something along the lines of my manager said, Mark, I think it was Mark's more equipped to play right field because he's a better athlete, which he was. A little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and he wasn't even fast. That tells you how slow I was. So something along the lines of like, you really have to put on weight this summer so you hit more home runs because, you can play more first base, something like that. I went, now it actually was to my detriment. It wound up messing up my swing, but that's not the point. I took that as a personal rather than saying, screw this, man. You know what? I'm going to transfer. I'm going to go play at Wagner or so. I'm going to go play somewhere else local. I'm going to go to Iona, whatever it might be. Okay. All right. That summer, I started banging out push-ups like I was in jail. And my entire body, I'd wake up 50. Before I go to bed, 50. Hitting off the tee in the backyard, 50. And really, outside of up until about 6 months ago, when and it's fine now, so I should start doing it again, I had a shoulder impingement to this day in my early 50s. I had been a couple of hundred a day push-up guy, right? Because it was ingrained in my mentality, but it was there because I accepted the challenge. Now, I'd like to say that I hit 13 home runs and I got drafted and we won. No, that's not the point. The point is I dealt with adversity by sticking around and changing what he told me to change. And now it didn't help out baseball, but you know what it did help out? It did help out the adversity when WFAN decided to get rid of me and Sal, all right, and move on from BT and Sal because I was already prepared to. Somebody told me something I didn't like. All right, what's the option? Crawl up in a ball and go hide or go and fight? And this is my version of push-ups. You know what I mean? So that's just a long story of telling you that, of course, kids should get paid. Of course, NIL should be there. There's no question. The economic imbalance in collegiate athletics has been out of whack forever, really. But I do think there's something to be said for digging in, and even if it's only one more year, sticking through it, punching through adversity, because whether it's a law firm, whether it's the Knicks, whether it's a school and you're trying to become the principal and you get passed over and you got to stay there and you're unhappy, whatever you do in life, this thing's coming. This thing's called the curveball. And sometimes it's one, I don't give a shit how good you are. You're not touching it. But you're going to get another at bat. So, I mean, you can tell I've got very strong thoughts on the youth sports, and there'll be other content on BT Unleashed for that. But I did want to let you know this was all based on Sunday's appearance on Fox on Sunday night. And yeah, hey, CNN, you want me to come on? I'll come on. I'll chop it up. Absolutely. I'd love to. Anytime I get a chance to talk about this, I am going to maximize that exposure. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to maximize that because I don't pretend to think that I can fix youth sports, but I think having been in it, having played at a fairly high level, coaching, having made some mistakes myself, which I've owned as a dad, as a coach, I think maybe I can make your transition a little bit easier. And that's one of the things that I want to certainly do. Pay it forward a little bit. All right, J-Rod, anything you want to add before we bounce, brother? What do you got? Any plans? Wait, forget about it. Don't even answer that. Any plans for the weekend? And by plans, you know what I mean.
Not those kind of plans, but we're going to a couple concerts, going to a couple shows, so we'll see what we can make out of this weekend.
Couple shows, huh?
See what we can muster up out of tonight.
Now, okay, when you go to these shows, you going with a couple of the boys? Like, what kind of crowd do we have here?
Yeah, younger crowd, like a lot of NYU kids.
Okay. Okay.
kind of vibe. It's like my friend's buddy's concert. So
Gotcha. Nice.
out.
Now, be honest, unless you're, if your dad's watching, you're uncomfortable, whatever. But I know what I did when I was younger. We would just we would bang back beers, like that was the Brooklyn thing to do.
Yeah.
Half Irish. You drink beer when you shouldn't when you're younger. I mean, tonight a gummy night? I mean, what's going on tonight? Is that I know how you guys roll.
Both.
Oh.
We're doing it all. No, I'd assume it's a beers kind of night. I'd assume get off of work at the Guitar Center, straight to downtown Brooklyn,
Let's
to
go.
Lower East Side. Let's figure it out.
I love it. Now, downtown Brooklyn, you talking Montague Street? Where are you guys going? Because I know the area pretty well.
All right. I guess downtown Brooklyn's where I work. After that, probably Lower East Side. My buddy's on like Orchard Street. I think we're probably going to be around, like Orchard, Allen kind of area.
Look at this
Lower
guy.
East Side. So
night, late night, like a late night kind of deal.
Oh yeah, probably.
Oh, dude,
I'm guessing.
Look at this guy.
It starts at 11:30. So let's have fun.
You're not walking in till 3 if you're lucky.
So
hold on. If you're really lucky, you say goodbye to your buddies. You get home at like 1:30 too. If you're really lucky, but
exactly,
we'll keep it. We'll keep it clean. You know what I mean? I remember that first date. Not the first date. Let me take that back. Not the first date.
Second or third.
Third. Once I know, you have the first date, and then it goes well. There's a second date. It's not just swiping. Let me just see it. Once there's a third date, even if it starts with a swipe, but it gets to a third date, I'm gonna make arrangements for a nice dinner for my guy J-Rod, his young lady friend, a little dinner, a little vino. We'll set it up nice. But you got to, before you get to 3, you got to get to 1. So
yeah, exactly.
You gotta get going. All right, dude. All right, man. Have a good weekend. Enjoy tonight, J-Rod. Enjoy
Thank you to the fans.
There you go. Look at him. I mean, geez. I mean, the gummies, got to be careful with that stuff, right? That's what they say. That's what I hear. All right, next week, a lot of football. Next week, we'll get some resolution with the Giannis stuff. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to happen on Thursday. It could happen this weekend, could happen early in the week. I still think the Yankees are going to make a trade. I do. If you ask me right now, which team's inclined to do one more thing, the Yanks or the Mets? I'd say the Yankees slightly, but I also still think the Mets are probably going to go out there and get one of those, back of the rotation arms. I think they're going to get another pitcher here. And I think the Yanks are going to make a little trade that I think might not be that little. At least that's my hope. Anyway, enjoy what remains of today. Have an outstanding weekend. Cold, whatever. Before you know, it's going to be nice and warm out there. Have a great weekend. If something pops and I'm home and not at one of my kids' games or doing something else I have a commitment to, I'll pop on live and I'll get into that there. Otherwise, I'll catch you Monday at 10. Spread the word, guys. Like it, subscribe it, hype it up, comment, get all that traction out there. Hit the shorts. Obviously, spread the word. I appreciate you guys. Have an awesome weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Peace.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?